What does it mean to romance your customer? A best-selling author is up next with information on just that.
Beautiful.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home. We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network. We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show. Welcome to my show. If you're a boss watching this right now, I want you to grab your sales department, the entire sales department, and gather them around the screen and watch this, because you're going to learn how to romance your customer on this episode of the Jeff Crilley Show. Joining us to talk about that, Don Williams. He's a best-selling author and speaker. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. Happy to be here.
Well, the title of your book, Romancing the Customer, was the one that jumped out at me. But before we get into that, I want to show on the screen some of your other books, because you're a prolific writer. I wrote one. You wrote 3 or more: Building Your Legacy, Romancing Your Customer, and DIY Outbound Contact Center Toolbox. Man, I'm worn out just... I wrote one book 20 years ago and it almost killed me, but you like to write.
I do. I like to write, though I really speak my books and then edit and edit and edit. I'm not really a writer. This type of a writer.
Yes.
And I'm in my 4th book right now.
Wow.
Untitled so far, but today we call it Don's Gratitude Project. And so
really cool.
It'll get a better name. I'm not sure when, but by the time we publish, it'll have a better name.
Well, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how you romance your customer in a second, but I want you to share your background in sales, because you were breaking sales records as a young man, weren't you?
Yeah, so I was in sales when I was a freshman in college, and it took me less than a year to become the top salesperson in the country out of 450 salespeople. And I think there are people that have a natural bent, but everybody can do better, and it just takes a little learning and a little application, just like anything else. And so, and truthfully, for those bosses out there, the entire company is the sales department, and so everybody can learn how to better romance their customer.
Yes, and I think everybody talks themselves out of being a salesperson, but we're all in sales, right? Where you're selling a wife, you're selling a husband, you're selling a boss, you're selling a kid on doing his homework. Everybody's in sales. Do you find that a lot of the people that you're coaching have a mental block when it comes to sales? They're thinking used car salesman?
I think people operate under some misconceptions with sales. One being that it's hard and that people don't want to buy, and I can't make people do anything. And I think that part's true. I don't think you can make people do things, but you can make it easy to do things. And in fact, people want, love, and actually even psychologically need to buy. There is a little brain thing that happens there when they put their credit card across in the swiper,
yep,
or write the check, or pay their money.
So let's talk about romancing your customer. When you say that, what do you mean?
So I think that when you deal with the customer experience, that customer journey map, so from first glimpse up through marketing and sales, that's very similar to, I'm 60 years old from Kansas, so I have a certain way of looking at things, but that's very similar to when that young man first glimpsed that young woman and began the dating and courting process, very parallel. And when they stood at the altar and they said, "You may kiss the bride," that's when the sale took place, and we stepped into marriage, which is a little different relationship than dating and courting. And then in your company or my company, generally other people are delivering that romance, and so that's very similar to your family. And then, of course, the hardest person to romance and the hardest person to sell is yourself. You know, self-leadership is the eternal struggle, and so romance your customer is kind of the entire customer journey. And when we set out to wow customers, not just on a scale of 1 to 10, and 8's good enough, but no, I want to deliver a wow every time I have a contact with that customer.
So let's take a car salesman. If a car salesman was going to romance his customer or her customer, how would they do it?
So 1, big smile. 2, don't make any promise that you're not going to live up to. 3, people are very time sensitive, and so if you're getting back with someone, sooner's better than later. When they actually wanted the information was 1 second before they picked up the phone or emailed you, and so the sooner you can do that. And then probably the overarching principle is just this: just see it from their point of view. Your perspective doesn't really matter. It's all about what they think.
Let's talk about some of the soft skills necessary to romance a customer, because I see salespeople sometimes they're distracted when they should be focusing on you and making you feel special. They're checking their text messages or they're taking a phone call when they really shouldn't kind of break that trance, right?
Absolutely. And so never should take a phone call in the physical presence of a customer or a pre-customer. They're giving you the gift of their presence, and you should honor that. And then active listening is most people think salespeople, they're good talkers. Actually, the great salespeople are great listeners. And so no gift I can give you of more value than just listening to what you have to say, not with the intent to reply, but just with the intent of understanding.
And everybody wants to feel special, don't they, Don?
Everybody does want to feel special. And, the funny thing is this: if you help people feel special, they'll want to spend a lot of time with you.
That's wonderful. You do a lot of public speaking, especially when we're not social distancing. We've got some video of you wowing a crowd. What kind of groups do you like to speak to?
So I like to speak to groups of businesses that have customers. People ask me, so who do you specialize with? And I'm like, well, if they have customers, I'm a pretty good fit. And so trade associations, entrepreneur organization, Vistage, YPO,
yes,
all of that.
Do you find a difference between the baby boomer salesperson and the millennial salesperson? Or now we are seeing Gen Z starting to make its way into the workforce?
So I don't know. I think regardless of the generation, we're all people. And things that we perceive as new, part of that's because every 100 years you get all new people, and so we don't have this institutional memory and knowledge. But the great salespeople want to serve others, and they represent a product, service, or experience that has high value. And when they ask for money, the money is of less value than what they're delivering, and so they can operate with confidence and integrity. And people appreciate their help.
Let's talk about the upcoming book, the Gratitude book. Where does that come from?
So 5 years ago, I was in Bangkok, Thailand, and I listened to a lady talk about energy and the relationship between the brain and the heart, which is pretty fascinating. But that biorhythmically, we function at our very highest as humans when we express or experience gratitude. And so I began my own gratitude path and literally carried around a little silver bucket. If you've seen any of my podcasts, it sits behind me. And it was my physical reminder to be grateful. Since that time, I have been Johnny Appleseed of gratitude. And so this book, I'm looking for 99 co-authors that will share a gratitude story, so that hopefully we can take our spark and ignite a fire around the world with people who daily practice intentional gratitude.
Wow. Tell me how people engage you. Do they hire you to come in and train their sales team, or how can people get a piece of you?
So thank you for asking. You can always reach me at donwilliamsglobal.com. And I'm everywhere on the internet. I'm in a lot of places on the internet. And I do keynote speeches, okay, so stages, big crowds. I do workshop facilitation, and I do one-on-one coaching, typically with business owners and corporate execs. Corporate exec side on leadership primarily.
You've got a great voice. Have you been told that?
I've been told I have radio voice.
Can you get down low?
I can get pretty low. Yes.
Don, you're amazing. We're almost out of time. So final thought that you want to leave the viewer with. You can look right in that camera. What words of encouragement do you want to give them?
I want to encourage you to be the real you. So everybody's two people. The person behind the curtain that we want the world to think we are, and the person who's on stage, or the person on stage who we want the world to think we are, and then the person behind the curtain who we really are. And I want to encourage you to have enough courage to poke your head through the curtains and step out on stage and be the real you.
Wow. Great way to end the segment. We're going to put your website up. DonWilliamsGlobal.com is the website. Don, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Jeff, thank you very much.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.